everybody. Welcome to the Opposite Side Show podcast. Today, we have my co-host, EJ Always, the infamous, the great, and we have myself, Crystal Renee. Today, we are going to be discussing why do men require submission? A much needed discussion for everyone. So, we're going to get right into it. EJ, do you have anything to say with this intro?
Again, I'd like to say thank everyone for joining in. Thank you for subscribing, following the channel. On this particular topic, as far as submission, we wanted to address it because sometimes it may be a hot button issue for women, and also sometimes men may also get the wrong idea of what actually submission means in a relationship, and I think women do too, as a matter of fact. But first off, what I wanted to show.
So we do want to encourage you guys to subscribe, all that good stuff.
Correct. So first, the first quote that I want to show is basically what submission is. So it says that submission is an act that is expressed mutually and voluntarily. Being submissive helps us to be less self-centered and allows us to consider the desires of others. Submission has nothing to do with being weak, but allows us to be strong enough to open our hearts to others. Now, what I gather from this quote, a lot of times when we talk about submission, when men and women talk about submission, women think being dominated, being told what to do. And then you also get men who also feel as though, since we're talking about submission, that means I get to tell you whatever the hell I want you to do. And I submit to you, since we're on the whole sub and the mid word, that men have it wrong. As an alpha male myself, when I think of submit, I think of that definition, like the woman that I choose or chooses to be with me is submitting to basically my leadership because she feels as though I'm qualified to be the end all of that leadership. Not that I'm the only one qualified to lead, but hey, at the end of the day, someone has to be responsible for the last decision. If we come into a point to where we agree to disagree, who gets to make that decision between two people? Is it you or is it me? Now, there may be even other, what would you say, relationships between people where, it may be man and a woman, or two women or two men, and it may be a decision between who decides who's going to be the end all. But I think in the whole dichotomy of what is a family structure now, someone has to be the last person that says, hey, this is what we're going to do.
Okay. All righty. That's a really nice quote, by the way. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump right on into it. So I hope you're ready for this fire.
Get on into it. Let's go.
So feel free to be transparent and honest. And we're going to be open and receptive to whatever you got to say, little sugar, okay? So my
Correct.
first question is, what is
I'm going to lie and I'm going to be okay.
You gonna tell a lie on the oath?
I said I'm gonna lie and I'm gonna be opaque. Okay. You know what I'm saying? That's my word for today. The opposite of transparent.
Okay. So you gonna tell a lie on the oath? Got you, future. So my
I got you.
First question, EJ. What is submission? Is it the quote that you stated? Is that your definition as well?
I think that's pretty close to my definition. And by that, to submit to someone, to submit to anything is basically a giving of oneself over, or the desires of yourself over to that other person or whatever, or what have you. So when it comes to a man and a woman's relationship, there are times, even when we talk about submitting and we're talking about the final word, there are lots of times in a relationship where a woman is submitting to a man in his leadership, but a lot of times a man is submitting to her and other things that she wants, not necessarily what we're going to do as the end all be all result, but other decisions that may be major decisions, or a lot of that are major decisions in a household as well. You know what I'm saying? Like if If the woman that I'm with is better at finances than me, then I'm going to submit to whatever she says about the finances because she's better at it than I am. But that's a part of leadership. That isn't what I don't think that's how all men look at it. Some men are just like, I'm the man, I'm going to run this no matter what. But I will also say that leadership requires that you evaluate the people that are under your leadership and use them at their best talents. So if the person that you're with is better than you at something, then, and I mean, even if that's better at leading, you know what I mean? Because some women are better at running the house itself than a man has ever been able to do. You know what I'm saying? So even if someone is better at leading than you, as a leader, you should be able to submit, you should be able to recognize that and use people accordingly.
Okay. So before I go to my next question, I want to kind of touch on something that you stated. So you did
Hmm.
say that there are some women who are better overall at leading a house than some men may ever be. So
Hmm.
to piggyback off of that, we live in a world where many children grow up in single parent households, and most of the times it's a woman that's the parent that the child is living in her house. So how does that factor in with men and women with this whole submission thing in modern times?
Well, simply put, you have to submit, you know, to the higher authority in the house. If there's no man there, you know what I'm saying, then that happens to be the woman that's there rearing the children. And a lot of times, sometimes, even if there is a man there, I know men who don't discipline their kids. They leave that to their wife to do it or to their significant other to do it. You know what I mean? Um, I think like back, pre 1950s, you have these predefined roles of what men and women do. And after World War I and World War II, when women were having to take the place of men, as far as when they went off to war, they were having to, take care of the home and go out and get jobs to make ends meet. They realized that they could do a lot of the things that they were being held back from. So the dichotomy of the nuclear family has changed now. So as a man, you don't have to be the sole breadwinner, even though some men like to be. You're in a position to where some men, their women make more, their some people, their partner makes more money than they do, so the roles have definitely changed, but the roles still exist. You know what I mean? It's just like, with a car, you got wheels, you got a steering wheel, you got a motor, you got a transmission. All of those roles still, um, all of those systems still apply in making that car move forward. So no matter whether who's doing the role, it still has to be done in order for the family to progress, in my opinion.
Okay, all right. So my next question is, what benefits does a woman get out of submitting?
She gets the benefit of there being a singular direction for where they're going as a unit. She gets the benefit of the protection of the man, which is, the basis of the family structure. Um, and like I said, submission isn't an all including thing. Like, I don't envision submission as me getting to choose what color the house is, what color the rooms are, all the furniture, what we eat in the day, what we eat next week. You know what I'm saying? It's not that deep, even though some people try to make it seem as though, oh, y'all just want to run everything. And like I'm telling you, it's not that serious. Like, I don't want to decide what we eat next day. I don't want, what I'm saying? Like, nah, it's not. It's just that, here, let me put it simply, and I like to describe this when I talk about submission. And I know we're not in old times or whatever, but you never know what things would happen. If in the middle of the night something happens, right?
Mhm.
Something violent happens outside, something crazy happens with the world, whatever. Someone has to have the ability to say, hey, get up, everybody. We're about to go. It's not time for a discussion. It's not time to ponder, to draw straws, to take votes. It's time to make a move. Someone has to be responsible for that decision. So if you want to be protected as a family, usually that person was the person who would go out and hunt, the person who would fight off wild animals, the person who would, meet strangers when they came on to the premises of, said property. That was generally the man, you know. Now, as far as the household itself, and how it ran, that was generally the woman. Like um, my grandfather went and worked every day and made lots of money. I mean, see, my grandfather went and worked every day and was an alpha male to the fullest, but he didn't run his house. My grandmother did.
Mhm.
Now he may have an overall like I said, don't do that, but grandma was okay, was in charge of the schedule, when we got up, when we went to sleep, when we went to bed. All my grandfather did was enforce what my grandmother said to do. And if you didn't do
Mm.
what she said to do, then my grandfather would come and mess you up. That's how that worked. So
But
even
grandma
though my
was the
grandfather was the supreme
operation.
authority, right?
Okay,
Even though he was the supreme authority, the alpha male in the house, you don't get sideways with grandma or
right.
granddad was gonna have you. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So it's the
Okay.
same way. Like generally in the house, the mother is the educator, the nurturer. You know what I mean? And in my house, my mother was the educator, the nurturer, all of that. But when it came to, I'm gonna tell your daddy, then I had a new level of respect for everything that came out of my mother's mouth after that. Because even though she was a nurturer and she'll let me get away with stuff, daddy wouldn't let me make it with none of that. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times the underlings can get away with some stuff because it's like, don't worry about it next time. But when you get to the
Mhm.
captain be like, nah, I'm not letting you make it. This is how I run my ship. This is how we do it. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So
Okay.
someone has to keep the overall objective of what we're doing, because a lot of times the mother has to be there to nurture the kid, to pick the kid up when he falls, to do all that. Somebody's got to be there to say, nah, we're not doing it that way. Grip up, this how you're gonna have this how you gotta be a man, or even grip up, this how you're gonna have to be a lady. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna get scratches, you're gonna get bruises, you gotta keep pushing. So you get the yin and yang of both. Now,
Okay.
it used to be a male and excuse me, yeah, a male and a female, yin and yang. We know that dichotomy is different, but you still need that. You need someone that's going to be like, hey, you need to toughen up, and then you need someone there who's going to give you that soft, nurturing love that women provide.
Mm. Okay. All righty. Good response. I don't have a follow up question to that, so I'm gonna go to the next one. So in a modern day world, well, women who are modern day, a lot of people feel as though we live in a patriarchal world.
Hmm.
So
We
a
do.
lot of women look at one point in history, women were considered as property. They really didn't have any say in anything. So what would make a woman like that, now that she has a bit more freedom, a bit more liberation, what would make her want to choose submission as opposed to just being alone, just kind of doing her thing? Or if she is with a guy, we're going to be equal. I'm not going to, maybe we can, dialogue and talk to each other, but you're not going to be the authoritative figure. I'm not going to be the authoritative figure. We're completely equal and we're just going to communicate. Why would she choose submission over the equal route or the single route?
I don't think it's a. I don't think it's a choice of. I think if you do anything different from that, then you're choosing a different type of dichotomy for your relationship structure. Um, like even if you're a woman and you're an aggressive, forceful woman, and you do what you do, and you find a man who's a beta male that's willing to let you run everything, that's you. Do you? I'm sure there's some men out there that don't want to have no damn responsibility whatsoever. I'm sure that's cool with them. You know what I'm saying? And that's out there for those women. But at the same time, when you choose that type of man, don't expect for him to act alpha in situations where you need an alpha male.
Mm, okay.
So
Mm,
if you're the woman and you're going to be the alpha role, you need to bulk up and get your
mm.
concealed handgun license. Because if your man don't want to fight, you got to hold it down when things go bump in the night. You got to stomp roaches and kill ants. So I'm just telling you, come with all that. You need to take the trash out because he's gonna be scared. You know what I'm saying? In case he run across a possum or something when he go to the dumpster. So you're gonna
Mm.
have to handle all that if that's the type of man you end up with. They
Okay.
out there. But I'm just saying, somebody's got to do the role. Somebody got to take the trash out.
That's true. That's true. So I kind of have a follow up question to that. So do
Hmm.
you think it's more stressful to be the authoritative figure, the leader, basically the head, than it is to just submit? Is there an issue of ego when it comes to submission?
Ego. mm, I think if you're an insecure man, then ego comes into it to submission, because then you might want a woman to submit because it makes you feel better about yourself
I'm talking about
as a
the
man.
woman. Is it an
Oh,
issue of ego with the
oh,
woman?
ego. I wouldn't say ego as much as I think that women have somewhat. Well, let me put it this way. I think that there has been a feminist movement. And I think that that feminist movement, while seeming as though it was serving the wants and the needs of the black woman, was actually serving the needs of the European woman. Um,
Absolutely,
from
I agree with that.
from a from and the thing about it is that black women have helped everybody with their damn movement.
But
You know
they
what I'm
said
saying? They helped everybody.
for
They
themselves.
helped with the
You know,
women's
they
movement, the
for
black
every
men's movement. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of
but
women were given a choice between the feminist movement or the pro-black movement. You know what I'm saying? And a
mhm,
lot of those black women chose the pro-black movement,
mhm,
right? Um, but the thing about the feminist movement, and why I say it doesn't include the black women, because a lot of those things that they were talking about were Western values. You know what I mean? And the values that we had inherently was that we had love for our mothers, we had love for our queens. We held, women in a high reverence because them being the bearer and the gift bringers of life. You know what I'm saying? So that type of thinking got changed by being over here in across the water. You know what I
mhm,
mean? And so um, I think I think that a lot of times that since society gets away from that, you know what I mean, women start to think that there's no value in raising children. There's no value in educating her own children or nurturing her own children. But there's a supreme value in that because you directly get to inject your own programming into your child as opposed to your child going off for 6 to 8 hours a day to be reared by someone else, and then you come home, have dinner with them, and then put them in the bed, and they do the same thing again the next day.
okay. Um, so my next question:
Hmm.
should every man automatically receive submission from his woman, or is that something, or is there some type of exchange that needs to take place? He needs to do X, Y, Z in order for her to submit, or should it just be automatically given to him on the strength that he's a man and has a penis between his
Remember the quote, right?
legs?
But I wanted to talk about this quote, and this is submission for a woman, right? Submission simply means to put the needs and wants of the other before your own. So when a woman submits to a man, it means to be willing to allow him to lead when there is a disagreement, provided that his leadership is reasonable and just. Provided that his leadership is reasonable and just. Listen to me, ladies. Listen to me, ladies.
Talk
Listen
to
to
him.
me, ladies.
Talk to him,
Listen
little
to me,
sugar.
fellas. Listen to me, fellas.
Talk to
Provided that your leadership is reasonable and
him.
just. So let's first just take three words: leadership, just, and reasonable,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
If you are with a man as a woman that provides these things, you probably would have no problem submitting to a man because it was reasonable and just, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're dealing with a man while you're a boyfriend, while y'all going out on dates, and you are apparent that you're dealing with a super narcissistic a-hole,
Mm-hmm.
the one of the red flags is going off right then, right? You shouldn't wait until you get married to decide that you're going to try to change such said narcissistic a-hole into, into a more loving relationship where your voice is included. No, you should have never picked him. Don't pick him,
Mm-hmm.
because a man that loves you will want to include your opinion. A man that loves you your opinion will weigh heavy on what he says. A man that loves you will sit and watch a romance movie with you that he does not want to see. He'll go to a Broadway play. He'll go meet your mama that he don't even like and pretend to like her. He'll do a lot of things. He'll do a lot of things. So while we talk about the big term submission about, a woman submitting to men, there's a lot of things men do that they don't necessarily want to do. And I might call it a form of submission
Okay.
myself, but I'm just keeping it 100. If you are in a relationship and you got all these red flags that are telling you that this is not the person to be with, that's probably not the person to lead you either.
Mm. Mm. Okay.
But I'm
I
telling
like.
you, here's the thing though, you can recognize good leadership qualities in people. You know what I'm saying? If you're a woman who feels as though you're looking for that type of alpha male, then look for those qualities that will not only make him an alpha male, but also make him a good leader. Because I submit to you, every alpha male isn't a damn leader. They just a Negro that want their own damn way. You know what I'm saying? But let me ask you, as a
Uh-oh.
woman,
Uh-huh.
how do you define submission? Or let me ask first this: when you hear submission or hear submission to men, what do you think, and how does it make you feel?
Um, for me, on the onset, submit when I think of submission, I think of an authoritative figure. And when I think of an authoritative figure, I think of cops. I think of a principal at a school. I think
Mhm.
of parents in regards to, their children. I don't think of a husband. When I think of an authoritative figure, and I think of an authoritative figure when I hear the word submission, right? So it's like the two go hand in hand. Um, for me, it doesn't really give me a negative, I don't have a negative connotation attached to it. I think that women are submissive naturally. I
Mhm.
really do believe that. I do think that we've been conditioned to do a lot of the things that men do, kind of be like men. A lot of women have fought to be equal as men or on the same playing field or be identical to them in their characteristics, their strength, what they do, how they carry themselves. And I think that's very detrimental. I do think if we did away with all social conditioning, if we were all in our natural states, we didn't have any social media, we didn't have, anything to kind of steer us in any weird way, I think that women would take on that submission role in and of itself because I think it's just a natural thing for them. Right
Mhm.
now, the world that we're living in, I think that women not submitting or not being able to meet a man or not meeting a man because you're able to meet them, but not running into men where they're in an environment where they can submit because life is just so fast and society is just so moving. um
Right.
I think that they're out of their character, but
Well, I
they've
want to.
been in that.
Hmm.
I'm sorry.
No, but they what?
Okay, so yeah, I think that a lot of women in modern day are out of character. And when I say character, I'm not talking about if you're a good person or do you steal from people, do you lie?
You,
No,
you
I'm
mean they're
talking
not in
about
the
what their
defined roles that they should be in, or in a clearly defined
yeah,
role?
the natural roles that they would take on. I don't think that women are typically doing those things, and so they're basically operating on a system that they don't really understand or a system that's not meant for them. You get
Right.
what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah, I
like,
understand. I understand what you're saying because I've often heard like psychologically that men are able to compartmentalize more than women
mhm,
are, and so it even gives the ability um, for the man to emotionally cut off something that just happened in order to process something that's going on right now. Whereas a woman, when she processes things, it has a lingering effect on her and her decision making until she gets over that line of thinking. I'm
mhm.
not, don't quote me on that. I'm just trying to, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
I do know that men have the ability, like even in a relationship, if you are get out of a relationship as a man, the next hot thing that come along, you be like, okay, forget about Shambrisha. I'm on to the next thing. You know what I'm saying? And even though after you get off of the top of Shambrisha, you're going to think about your ex. But right then, you've been able to compartmentalize being with another woman. Whereas a woman who's in a serious relationship with a man, if y'all break up today, she's not going to go sleep with another man more than likely. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure there are exceptions to the rule, but more than likely, she's going to be pining over you somewhere until she gets over you. And then the thought of being with another man makes sense to her.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. But also to add to that, to what I was initially saying, I think that a lot of women, when they hear the word submit, they just get these bad feelings, and it has a negative connotation to it, because a lot of women have dealt with toxic men that have toxic masculinity, narcissists. A lot of women grew up, especially in the Black community. A lot of women grew up in single parent households where the mother typically was the only parent there, and maybe the father visited them sometimes, or maybe they never really had a relationship with their father at all.
You know,
But
you touched on something as far as a lot of women these days have grown up in the single parent household and
mhm,
been raised up by their mother. And you
mhm,
said something else as far as when you think about submission, you think of someone having authority over you as
mhm,
though a parent or a policeman.
mhm,
Um, and you said that submission and that authority were basically synonymous with one another for you.
mhm,
And I wanted to say that as far as authority, submission isn't giving someone authority over you to me, um, because you're not, as my wife, as my significant other, as my partner. I'm not flexing an authority over you. What
mhm,
I'm doing is, since you have allowed me to have the final say on these particular things, then
mhm,
that's when I'm going to say, okay, well, here's something I need to have my final say on. But it's
mhm,
not a thing, because when I think of authority, and like you said, when you think of parenting, when you think of policemen, you think of people telling you what you can and cannot do,
right,
right? But
mhm,
when you're talking about submission, you're talking about someone that's fully able to do whatever the hell they want to,
mhm,
but instead they are deferring to you as
mhm,
opposed to making their own decision that just benefits them or their line of thinking at the time. But like I said, you want to only submit to someone that is practicing something that is reasonable and just for you. Watch those red flags when you first meet. This means men too. If you're a man that's an alpha male and you want a woman who's going to be submissive to you, and some of the things that you want to happen at the beginning of the relationship aren't happening, they're not going to start happening at the end of it or in the middle of it. You know what I mean? As a woman, if you want him to do certain things for you and they're not happening at the beginning of the relationship or when y'all are courting, they're not going to suddenly start happening once
right,
y'all get married or move in together.
mhm.
You know what
I
I'm
feel
saying?
I feel you on that. But
Also, go ahead.
one thing I would like to point out before I forget. So everything that you just said, it sounds so good. It
Hmm.
sounds good. But the reality is, when modern day people, when we think, when, and I can't speak for everybody, but a lot of women in modern day, when we hear the term submission, even though you put up great quotes that perfectly define what I would consider submission, that's not what comes to mind when we hear that word. We think of
Hmm.
bondage sometimes, as in like a slave master and a slave, or you think of that authoritative figure. So I think that what might help is if we, as a society, understanding that the word submit, it just has negative connotations attached to it with certain people. If we could just change the vocabulary a little bit, I think people would get a better response. So, for like example, if a man said to a woman, I want to be with you and I want to allow you to just simply be a woman, whatever that is. And I think saying that, you will get a much better response from her. And I think that she will naturally get into that submissive state. But when you say submit, because it just has such a negative connotation attached to it in a lot of people's minds, and a lot of people may not be able to get past that. You can give them all the greatest quotes, the greatest definitions, and they can hear it for that moment, but a lot of people
Mhm.
may not really be able to digest that. And every time they hear that word, they're going to think of an authoritative figure or a bondage, somebody trying to tell me what to do, and then they're going to, toughen up and they're going to get defensive. So, but if you just,
Here's the thing though.
mhm,
I can only define words how they're defined, right?
okay,
And give
hmm,
you the meaning of the words and what they mean,
right,
right?
hmm,
So whether you want to use the word submit, whether you
hmm,
want to use the word allow to lead, whether you want to use the word, the last say so, that
hmm,
all depends on you. You're still talking about the same things.
hmm,
So people can put and the thing is that people put a negative connotation on things, right?
hmm,
So, um, like the word submit, you say authority, all these other things. Now, you do have to submit to authority,
hmm,
but when I think of a relationship between a man and a woman, I don't think of my woman as an authority figure over me any more than she should think of me as an authority figure over her. Even though at the end of the day, if there are two houses and I like the blue one and she liked the red one for various reasons, and I say, well, all things considered, I think we're going to have to go with the blue one.
hmm.
That's all we're talking about.
I mean, I get it. I get it, EJ. I understand what you're saying, and I agree. Like I don't have an issue with submission. I can hear the word and be like, okay, I knew at one point I felt a certain way about it, but now as I've grown and I've matured, the word submit does not, make me feel any type of negative way towards it. But I'm just being honest and
Mhm.
being and us having this conversation, letting you know how a lot of other people do
Okay,
feel,
I feel
how
what you're
they view.
saying.
So it's like,
Okay, and you know
we
what? I
can
think they
say
get
submit
that.
all we want.
I think they get that because of the biblical connotation of what submit means to them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and
Yes.
then like even some wedding proceedings, whenever the preacher says, "Do you promise to love, cherish, and obey?" The women be
Oh,
like,
right.
"What?
Exactly. Right. Like, what?
Obey,
Right.
Negro?
Yeah.
What?" You know, what I'm saying? They be like,
Well,
"Obey." Did he just
well,
say
wait a minute.
obey? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
What am I a dog? Am I supposed to sit? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But that's you know what I'm
You
saying.
obey
And
an
so
authority.
just
Yeah.
like you said, I get what you're saying. When women hear submit, it's almost like hearing obey or you gon' do
Yeah.
this. And all I'm
Right.
saying is, ladies,
Mhm.
beta males, that's
Okay.
not what your alpha woman or your alpha man is saying to you in most cases. You're gonna get jerks, but you're gonna get that. But I'm telling you, if you get that and you keep that, that's your fault. It's not my fault.
Mhm.
I'm trying to tell you how to best cope with what's going on and how what someone who actually has the best intention for you actually means when you hear submit. Don't think submit when you hear when it comes to relationship. Think about that when you think about the Bible or whatever. But when it comes to you and your significant other, just think, hey, and you don't even have to think as a whole encompassing thing. You can be like, you know what, hey, on matters of finance, the buck stops with me, or matters of the kids and how they going
Mhm.
that's on you. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of different places where I mean, I got homeboys. They is as alpha male as you get, but when you walk in their house, you got to take off your shoes. Not because my dude wants me to take off my shoes when I come in his house, because his woman said take off your shoes because y'all not going to track dirt across her carpet.
Mhm.
Who running the house? He ain't, because know what happened? He take off his damn shoes when he come out. He don't be like, you know what? I'm the man. I pay the bills. I'm just gonna walk across the carpet, and Betty Joe is gonna clean the damn carpet. Hell no, Betty Joe ain't. You gonna take your damn shoes off, or you gonna be sleeping on the couch, or you ain't gonna
Mhm.
get no
Right.
ill nah, as Foxy Brown used to say. You know what I'm saying? So even though
Mhm.
a man may have control over certain things, women know how to flex and do what they need to do.
They do because
Because
a woman.
if they know how
Mhm.
to flex enough after when the World War One jump off to go out into the workforce and to learn how to work and to learn how to work in them factories and still rear children and to do it again in World War Two. You know what I'm saying? If they can learn how to do that, they can certainly learn how to flex to get a Negro who loves them to do what they want him to do.
That I completely agree because a man and a woman are completely different. Like the way that a woman operates is she operates on a totally different operating system than a man. So
That's
the
fair.
way that she would normally get things done is not necessarily the way that a man would get things done, right?
The
And believe
woman,
it or not, I think that the woman has more, I don't want to say control, but she has the ability. It's a gift, I think. If a woman, and I don't know, y'all can take it how you want it, but this is just what I know for me
mhm,
and what I know for life. I think that if a woman really operates in being a woman, I think that she'll realize the gift that she has when it
you
comes
know
to a
what?
man.
You
Because a man
speak
will
them
do
gospel.
whatever for a woman.
You can speak them gospel because my mother was married at 14 to my father when he was 16, right?
Mhm.
My mother, my father is the ultimate alpha male. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Super alpha male. My mother could get my
Mhm.
father to do anything that she wanted him to do.
Exactly.
Anything. If I wanted to go out and stay out late, run it by my mom's. Now I could go ask my dad straight up. He'll tell me, nigga, no. No, you're not doing that. You're not doing that, EJ. My mother, hey mom, I want to go to such so and so, blah blah blah. All right, I'm gonna talk to your daddy about it. When mom talked to daddy about it, suddenly it
You
happened,
up through there. You up through there. We finna get some stuff done.
right? You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? So a lot of times, like I said, men have perceived power over the household, right?
There you
That's
go.
because usually the man gets up and grabs the gun and goes to the door for strangers, right? But
Hmm.
just like a good master, if the woman's sick, the woman has the ability to sick that nigga on anybody that she really wants to.
Right.
On the cool.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? So who's really in
Right.
control? You know what I mean? Like, never is the man gonna come home and be like, you know what, Becky, can you go beat the hell out of Rebecca? You know what I'm saying? Renee down the street. That really doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? But if you come home crying, talking about somebody did something to you,
Mm-hmm.
boom, the dogs is out. You know what I'm saying? That's
That's
just
a
how
fact.
it happens. So
That's
women have a lot more control
that
and
they do.
than they like to, I don't want to say than they like to say, but a lot more control than they like to give themselves credit for. You know what I mean? Just because you got a big bad man, think about it. Some of the women go with the hugest dudes. These dudes be 6'8", 7'1", 7'2". One of them be 4'3", and she'd be like, Tyrone, get your ass. He'd be like, say, bro, I'm gonna have to let you go. My girl
Right.
tripping. Like, what happens to all the submission in the alpha male and that when she say, get
Yes,
off the phone and come spend some time with me? You know what I'm saying? All that submission is out the door because he's thinking like, okay, I might be running stuff, but if I want to get the dipstick oiled, I better get off the phone with my boys right now.
hmm
That's power.
that is power. Thank you. Thank you. But I
All
think
day.
a lot of women don't realize they're oblivious to that truth. They
Now,
they're
do not
they're so
mistake
wanting
any
to.
of this for withholding sexual gratification for from your significant other as a power play. Do not mistake this for that. But what I am saying to you is women have a lot more control over their significant other than they're giving credit for. Like I said, my mother could get my father to do anything for her. She
Mhm.
could change his mind simply by being her. She ain't got to flex in front of the kids. She ain't got to do nothing. She just be like, okay, I'll talk to him. It'd be silly, real quaint. Okay, I'll talk to your daddy about that.
Mhm.
And then my dad would come in and be like, well, his mother's talking. I'm going, like, who knows what the power play she pulled, you know what I'm saying, in the room, you know what I'm saying? But I know when
Right.
it came back to the end,
But
the
she got her
decision that was a resounding hell
mind.
no at first is now, all right, you go, but don't you know what I'm saying? Don't y'all be acting up out there. Really? What power does
Right.
this woman wield? Because I could beg and plead with my father all day long. Dad, I want to go to the party. Daddy, want to go to the party. Dad, boy, I told you, ain't for hang out with them boys no more. Da, da, da. All of a sudden, mama talk to him, and all of a sudden, all right, boy, y'all be back in here by 1 o'clock. What? We have a winner.
There
So,
you
like I
go.
said, even though you have the perceived power of the strong man up front, my
Mhm.
mother, my grandmother, a lot of my aunts still run their household and can still get their husband to do anything that they wanted to do, even though they are submitting.
Exactly. I agree with that. I feel you. We agree. Okay. So,
But
when we were just
you
having a little
know,
talk,
telling you women, you don't get you a real alpha male,
mm,
you're going to run into these issues one day. This little
Man.
fleeting, it's almost like wanting to have a child. You're going
Mm.
to want someone who has a little bit of weight, you know what I'm saying, on you, over you, that makes you feel safe. I
Yeah.
don't have that deep nurturing feel to feel safe. I make myself feel safe. But I know women like to feel safe.
Yeah.
You want to get that on a nightly basis where you sleep well. You need to get someone who you feel as though you can give that protection power to. That's generally an alpha male. That's all I can say about that.
Mm. I agree with that. I sure enough agree with that. So speaking of alpha males and alpha
Hmm.
females, so it made me think of a question. Do you think that a beta male can lead an alpha female if he has an alpha wife if she's willing to submit? How do you think that dynamic would work out? Is it possible for that to be a good matrimony or not?
I mean, anything is possible if people love each other. Like, the whole thing of matrimony and relationships is just compromise in the first place. And no matter whether you're an alpha male, beta male, female, whatever, you're still making certain compromises. They don't always have to be the same thing that other people make compromises on. So as a alpha female, if you want to run shit, like I said, there are men out there that'll let you run everything. You could care less. All they want to do is play PS5 on your couch. You know what I'm saying? Don't let me get that wrong. Let me rephrase that. Not all beta men want to play PS5 on your couch. Some alpha men want to play
Because they,
PS5.
I hope you know that they come in the comment section. So you better be ready. You
Right.
man, all the PS5ers.
That's a fact. But like I
Thank
said,
you for correcting that. He corrected it, y'all.
yeah,
So
but like I said, but anyway, I was being funny, but not all beta males are guys that's just gonna sit up on a couch or whatever. But what I mean is, if there's gonna
yeah.
be some type of varying degrees of, you know, control over certain things in any relationship. So alpha female, a woman who's used to getting her own way, a woman that's very corporate, a woman that's a go-getter, career women driven woman, can be with a guy who's simply, um, cool with staying home and, taking the kids back and forth to school, or even holding his own job, but comfortable with letting her make all the decisions for him. I couldn't do
Mm.
that, but I'm sure there's somebody out there like that.
Do you think that a woman, if an alpha woman does meet a guy like that, where he's okay with just kind of taking the back seat and allowing her to run, everything, do you think that she will truly feel a sense of fulfillment in that marriage, or do you think it's all just maybe the save face, or she's just kind of going with the motions, but she's not truly fulfilled, or she doesn't really feel like this, is aligned?
I feel like that really people get married and get into relationships for a lot of different reasons, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, um, I think it is possible for that to be a healthy, normal relationship as long as two people is cool with it. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like, not everybody marries for money, not everybody marries for love. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And not everybody marries because they're looking for someone who makes life decisions, or based on their input. Some people feel like they want to be in control of that. I don't see anything wrong with that either. I just know that
Mm-hmm.
um, I think, to me personally, I think that at the end of the day, that most women prefer an alpha male, even if you're alpha, quote unquote, female, because I think
Mm-hmm.
women who are
That's a fact.
strong want to have men that are strong too. And a
Yeah.
woman who can push a man around, in the end, won't respect that man because, one, she feels as though if she can push him around, then anyone can, and that type of person can't protect her if need be.
Yeah, and correction, if she can push you around, she doesn't respect you. She automatically, in her mind, she has no respect for you. So it's not a
Right.
thing of down the line she's gonna lose respect. Oh no, the respect is already gone.
Yeah, the
He's not
respect is
there.
already out the window. She already does not respect you.
Yeah, that's straight up because the reality is, and I'm sure pretty sure women will agree with me on this. I think women typically they know an alpha male when they see one or when they're in
Hmm.
the presence of an alpha male, and he doesn't have to be boisterous or do anything extreme or irate or flamboyant or just be overly aggressive. Just the energy that an alpha male typically physically gives off is just, it's a real thing. So yeah, those women, when they come in contact with an alpha male, there's just some things that a woman wouldn't dare do. You know what I'm saying? Like she
Hmm.
would never like talk to him in a disrespectful, degrading way. Even, I mean, it just wouldn't cross her mind, because it's just like when you meet someone like that, or when you're in the presence of someone like that, it just kind of cancels out all of the other stuff. So you're not even, you can't even fix your mouth or your mind to even think those things. Do you
Hmm.
understand what I'm saying?
No, I
Kind
know
of.
exactly what you're saying because it's the same reverence that you would think of if you're religious and you think of your pastor, or if you're a child and you think of your father, your mother, that there is a
Mhm.
certain level of disrespect that you would never have for them, no matter how much you disagree with them, because you
Right.
respect where you came from and how they raised you. And so I can understand a woman or a man who would give reverence to a person like that because they love them, one, and they have already basically come into their mind based on everything that this person has the best idea, or this person has my best interest. You know what I'm saying? This person's invested interest in me is just as much as my own, and therefore I'm willing to trust them with my life, because that's basically what you're saying. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You're saying, here's a person that I trust with my life. But innately, you have to choose someone that you're going to be able to trust, to be that you will be submissive with. You know what I'm saying? If
Hmm.
that's what you're looking for, you won't. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, you'll be able to tell by those red flags if that's someone that you're going to be willing to entrust with your life, because that's basically what you're saying.
Right. Okay. Okay, I feel you agree. So my next question: what is the difference between, you gotta listen, submission and these four C's, right? Cooperation, collaboration, coordination, and compromise. What's the difference?
Um, I think that in a perfect world, submission would encompass those four C's.
Mm,
Um, because in order to submit, you're going to have to compromise how you might feel about a certain thing, or about a certain direction that y'all might be headed in a relationship. Um, you know, Also the ability to coordinate those efforts into an effort that's going to be fruitful to the relationship. What were the other two?
um, you got compromise, collaboration, cooperation, and coordination.
Cooperation and collaboration. You know, and those are kind of like almost they're the same thing, but almost kind of different, because when you think cooperation, you think of working together on a common interest goal, and when you think collaboration, you think working with someone else on something that they're doing. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times, as a person who is, if you're the authority, I don't want to use the word authority. If you're the leading decision maker, versus someone who the decision is being made for, a lot of times you're offering your cooperation on a collaborative effort in order to make the successful a successful family, or what have you.
Mm, okay.
But yeah, I definitely think that submission has to encompass all four of those C's. And I don't know if there's a fifth one, but communication would be one of those too. You
Ooh,
know,
that's good. Yeah,
because
buddy.
if you can't if you can't communicate in the relationship how you feel, or how something makes you feel, then that's going to make a problem for y'all. Because if you're a woman who you feel like submit is the same thing as a man having authority over you, and he feels differently, then y'all need to communicate in order to make that plain to see for both of y'all. And therefore you won't have you know mishaps on the back end because y'all didn't figure out what y'all were doing at first.
Yeah, and somebody's gonna be ain't somebody's gonna be miserable. That's for sure.
Hmm. For
That's
real.
so you just something just kind of came up in my mind. So a lot of women consider men that want submission and they ask for submission. A lot of women consider those men to simply want ego boost, right?
Hmm.
So Do you think that there's something inherently wrong with wanting an ego boost? What's wrong with boosting your man's ego?
I don't think there's anything wrong with boosting anyone's ego.
Mhm.
Um, I would I would say be careful in boosting people's pride, but I don't think there's anything wrong with a man encouraging his woman or a woman encouraging her man or what have you.
Mhm.
Um, that's part. I mean, who wouldn't want that? Like,
Mhm.
um, when you're going through some of the hardest times of your life, or some of the roughest times of your life, or you do something that is significant, you want some praise for it. If you make a decision that ends up being a great decision, you want some praise for it. Just like a woman or anyone would want praise for anything that they do of merit.
Mhm. Agreed. Agreed. So I just want to make sure that you finish what you said, because this goes back to what we were kind of talking about earlier, how the verbiage and the definition of certain, or just certain connotations that people have with certain words. Because
Hmm.
when I hear the word like an ego boost, it's just like negative. It's like a negative, dark, like, ugh, there's nothing really good is going to come from that. And the person is just more so, you think of pride, right? But I think we really look at an ego boost is nothing more than just encouraging someone,
Hmm.
or singing praises to them, right? So I think it just kind of goes back to an understanding of what these things really mean. Because when I think about it, I'm a natural encourager. Like, I'm gonna gas you up, even if it's not gas. I'm on, baby. You're gonna hear from me. I'm gonna encourage you, and it's gonna be real. You're gonna feel like you could be the president of the United States and of
Right.
the world if that was a thing. Because that's just who I am. But on the onset,
Security of the world, Craig.
baby, let me tell you. But when we hear ego boost, a lot of women, they're like, nah, I'm not gonna boost anybody's ego, and I get it because it just has a negative connotation attached to it. But
I don't even know why,
ego
as a
is not
woman, or you would
that.
as a significant other, even say that you don't want to ego boost your partner. That don't even make sense to me. You know what I'm saying?
No?
Or like you said, maybe it's the words, ego, and we associate
Yeah.
ego with, pridefulness or being narcissistic or whatever.
Yeah.
But, it's not necessarily all of that. You think of, psychology, and what you got, the id, the ego, and the super ego or something like that. I could be wrong. But one is a wild and crazy thing, what I'm saying, and one is, kind of in between, and one is, the total opposite. So I don't think there's anything wrong with, someone getting praise for what they do, um, from their significant other. And I would think that I would want that, if I make like I was saying, if I make a decision that benefits everyone, I want somebody to say, you know what, you came through on that thing, you know what I'm saying? Or
Right.
looking back, I'm glad you did what you did. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Because it also gives your significant other the confidence to make those calls again when
Mhm.
faced with you not wanting to do something, and you giving that person the wherewithal to make the decision that's best for both of y'all in their experience or opinion.
Right. I feel you. So all you ladies out there, all us ladies out there, next time your homegirl be like, girl, you just want this ego boost. Don't do it. Don't do it. I would encourage you to maybe even push the conversation a little bit further and just ask, like, what's your definition of boosting an ego, someone's ego? And then when they
Hmm.
give their definition, you give your definition. Maybe switch it up a little bit. Encouraging, or uplifting, or singing praises, or whatever it is, and just see if it kind of changes the tone of that conversation. Because I, for one, in the past, like when I hear the word like ego boost, I'm like, oh no, oh no.
Hmm.
But when we were having this conversation just now, EJ, I kind of looked at ego, boosting someone's ego, as what it is. It's just simply what I do, like encouraging people.
Hmm.
Catch them up. Oh, you did really good. Oh, baby, you got this, or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? So that verbiage, that definition, we gotta figure out how we're gonna do that in life, people. So my next question, um, is it fair for a man to want something from another that he himself is not willing to do? And I'm talking about submission, of course.
Of course you are, because now we're going to go into those questions that you're clearly biased and you're trying to get a certain type of answer from me. And so look at you smiling already. I already see it. I'm on it, fellas. I already peep it. I already
I
peep it.
know.
I already peep it. Let me tell y'all what I already know and what women do not realize. As a man, you come out of the womb submitting, right? Right? Your mama
Right.
tells your butt what to do from a very early age. You have no problem with submitting. You entrust your mother with your life, right? Boy, get your butt in here. Boy, don't go in that street. Don't touch this. Don't do that. We grow up submitting. Even when we get out into the real world as black men, we're still submitting to the will of the people that have a majority of control over us every day. So I don't think that you can get into a relationship with someone who hasn't already had the experiences of submitting. Now, I do think you can get in a relationship with someone who, although they've had the experience of submitting, has no intention of your looking out for your best interests, right? So therefore, why would they submit to anything that you say? Because it's all about them, right? True submission is when it's all about you and your interests and will make decisions based on y'all, right? Isn't that why people submit to God or God? Because they feel like God has my overall well-being more than anyone. So I'll submit my will to him and whatever he decides for me. Well, it's the same in a relationship. You're submitting your will to someone because you feel as though they have your best interest at heart. And if you get into a relationship with someone that doesn't have your best interest at heart, don't make it just a simple fact of not submitting. Don't be in a relationship with that person.
Mm. Okay. I'm glad you said it because I was gonna ask the question, but never mind.
But like I said,
hmm
um, we're getting to the portion of the program where you start asking me these leading questions.
You know what they
And
say
so
about assuming,
I felt like that this has been the EJ always on submission episode.
Well, that's actually what it is because I wanted to ask you questions about submission as a man because I think there's
Okay.
a general um understanding that people have with women with how women view submission. You know, as you stated, a lot of women typically look at it as a bad, not a bad thing, but they have negative connotations attached to it. So that's just a general consensus. There are exceptions,
Mm-hmm.
but those are just that exceptions, not the rule. So
Right.
you know about women. Women have been very vocal. When there's one thing about women, they're very vocal. They'll use that mouthpiece to let you know how they feel, what's going on. But
Really?
they will a lot of times, yeah.
That
So
was a joke.
so yeah, I did want to get your take as a man, being that you have been married before, being that you are a man, being that I think that you are a man of good character. I thought that you would be a great candidate for me to just simply just boom, 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 rapid fire these questions for you, and you
Mm-hmm.
can maybe help us out because I'm here to get educated as well. So even though he be lying, y'all, but um
Cap.
whatever. Okay, so next question.
Wait a minute. There's still more questions. This is what we're
There's a
gonna
lot
have to
more
do.
questions, baby. We ain't even
A
scratched
lot
the
more.
surface.
Oh no. We're gonna have to do a part. We're gonna have to
Like,
do a part two of this because I'm not gonna be on trial for everything that the men
no, it's
thinks
not even
about
gonna be
submission.
like that.
We need to take this at another level. The next time I'm going to have some questions for you as far as what the women think about submission. And
Okay.
then we can even have a part three where if we don't get to the other questions that we get to, because I think we're running at about an hour and some minutes here. You know what I'm
Oh
saying? So I don't
wow.
want to get at people too much, you know what I'm saying, at one time. But this is a topic that like you were able to ask me these questions and get answers as far as the women were concerned about submission and what I think. And I think that as men, we should be able to also, in turn and in kind, ask you some questions about how women feel about submission in order to where we can grasp a better understanding of how, you know, that side of the coin feels when it comes to the way we express submission, leadership, control, communication, compromise, collaboration, what have you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like I said, this has been a great topic. And I appreciate the chance to dialogue with you, because sometimes you say things and you don't realize that they're in your head until you say them out loud. And a question or a conversation like we're trying to spark on the show will help you understand how you really feel about something, and also get some understanding from the opposite side of the spectrum or the coin.
That's a fact. I really enjoyed this dialogue too. But yeah, we haven't scratched the surface. I have so many more questions. So this part 2 and 3 or whatever. Yeah, you may go ahead and get ready, little sugar, because
Part 437. So, episode 7 million.
somebody got to do it. You know, go hard or go home, right?
That's a
And
fact. And we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Like I said, share us with your friends. We're going to be coming with more shows, more topics. Um, and we're going to start doing these once a week and dropping these. And therefore, you'll be able to submit your comments, give us your questions, give us show topics or suggestions for the show. We're open to all of those things. Again, I want to thank my co-host, the lovely Krista Renee, aka Delicate
thank
Jewel.
you guys. Thank you, EJ. Great conversation.
And most definitely shout out to everybody that rocks with us.
Mm-hmm.
And we out.
Yeah.